What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Off the Beaten Path podcast. This is episode number 16, and today we have the Icky Vicky Sideshow. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hell yeah. I am glad that you came in full clown makeup and have your nice new clown outfit on.
Yep. I also have my chicken that I just got. It makes me really happy because it is egg.
Nice. I love it. I love it. Hell yeah. So, how do you, before we started recording, I kind of asked how you became, or wanted to take the, I would say, career of being a clown. And you said that in school, you got voted as class clown. So, when did you actually say, hey, I want to be a clown? This is what I want to do with my life?
So I had something like super traumatic happen to me in my family that I like kind of snapped out. Like I was in a state of psychosis and stuff. And when I talked about it, I could feel people getting tired of me talking about it. And this happens with a lot of people that experience trauma where like you can't let it go because it was so impactful on you. And I could feel people getting tired of me talking about like my personal heartbreaks. So I thought I needed a place to like put all of it. I was journaling, I go to therapy, I do all this different type of things to try to use it in a way that's productive. And then I kind of was like, okay, well, what do I need to use it for? And I sort of had a list of goals like to help myself process what has happened, to need money. Everybody needs money, right? Like, and um I wanted to sing and have some sort of formative outlet for singing, telling little like comedic, sort of like change that heartbreaking situation into something that I could look forward to, something that made me happy, something that like also other people liked. Because I felt like people didn't want me around because it was like, it's such a bummer whenever like a traumatized person like or someone who's been through trauma is like talks about it, like it's
Right.
like not good vibes. I was like, this sort of just changes that narrative and changes that like paradigm inside of myself and inside of my life into something that's like funny and happy, and that I can like turn the lemons into lemonade, like making this heartbreaking situations into something really funny that honestly like a lot of people can relate to it.
Right.
Being heartbroken, I feel like everybody's gone through that before, right? Like
Yeah.
whether it be with a partner or whoever, like your family life, or so it's like something, a concept everybody can sort of like grab onto, and then I can play out these situations, tell stories like about how this like made me, I don't want to say better cuz I'm not, but it's
Hmm.
like it made life like better for me at the time. For
Yeah. And
sure.
In your childhood and adolescence, were you drawn to performance art, or did you find your persona through seeking of alternative means when like traditional like therapy didn't help, journaling didn't help as much as you wanted? Did you find it through seeking, or were you always kind of drawn
Yeah,
to it?
I've always had like an attraction to clowns, and I used to actually have a reoccurring nightmare of Charlie Chaplin. And then I looked him up and I realized he was actually like kind of a dope person. Like he was anti-fascist. He was he started the United Artists Management Group to, because like all these people were getting ripped off by the production companies when film like first started coming out, and these artists were getting like similar to what you see now with like Dave Chappelle situation with Netflix, like that's when all of that stuff first started happening. So I feel like I've always sort of had an attraction to clowns. And I used to joke that my mom dressed me like a ceramic clown, but like she literally did. So
And
anytime she gets like weird, like I don't know, like whenever I book really big shows, be like, oh my gosh, that's so exciting. Like, I'm so proud of you. But then she'll be like, why are you dressing like a clown? And be like really embarrassed of it also. And so I'm like, I don't know. My family definitely does not understand like, they're just like, we don't get it.
that's what I was going to ask is one, I wanted to
Yeah.
ask how old you were, you know, when that traumatizing event happened in your life, but also how your family views you as being a clown, like, but you just said they don't understand it. But how old were you when
Okay, so my family doesn't really like it and they kind of think I'm a fucking weirdo. My brother is a musician and he's a performer, and so he understands that like when I'm playing my music that I wrote, I'm like I'm like self-conscious and sensitive, you know what I mean? Like I feel like stage fright
right?
fullest. Whenever I'm doing sideshow, it's so in your face that the character kind of like takes over. Oh shit.
Everything
Where
good?
did you go? Yeah, I lost visual on you. Do you still have visual on me?
Yeah,
We can still see it.
that's weird.
Oh, okay, cool. Um yeah, so I know that he understands like that it's easier for me to perform like this, but my sister is like really straight laced. She's like a really, really straight laced type of person. She was actually on Stone Cold Steve Austin's TV show
Austin
twice.
316.
Yo,
That's
she's a
amazing.
bodybuilder. Yeah.
That's amazing. Wow.
Um, yeah, she's incredible, but she definitely thinks I'm a weirdo. But I got to tour last year and I like got paid to be on the road, which was really cool because I don't like you I don't know, like that was one thing that I really wanted to get out of this was like when I was able to get out of Pittsburgh, like I want to have a reason to go somewhere and like get like just getting on tour and going and meeting clowns from around the country and performing with different people. Like it really makes me feel like just happy that there's other weirdos out there like me and I'm not like fully alone.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I found all these people online that are interested in the same sort of things, and I really love like the hand painted circus stuff. I make a lot of my own props and things. And like I have this one here I can show you.
Please.
But it's a balancing wheel. And so I like painted the whole thing myself. And you balance like on the spokes.
That's badass.
And I'm gonna put magnets on it to hold my fire torches and stuff. But I just love that like everything's made by hand, and that lettering style and finding other people that are all doing the same thing is like just like feels really good to know that like I'm not the only person, because there is a hand lettering club in my town, but I can't like go to it. So
what I'm getting is that not only like in your family, but just in the world in general, you feel like the black sheep. Am I correct in that assumption?
Yeah, I have sometimes have a hard time like just relating to people, and like I have a lot of anxiety and get depressed and things like that. So I feel like I'm definitely sort of like more of a loner. Like I have just like a handful of really good friends. But definitely people think I'm a weirdo.
So do you think that you have a hard time with relating with people, or do you think it's vice versa and they have a hard time relating with you?
I feel like it's sort of both.
Yeah.
Like it goes both ways for sure. And I can be really closed off to people because people are dangerous.
Yeah. Tell me.
um, Another thing about the sideshow is like being able to be in charge of when I am objectifying myself and not being objectified by the world for like having a vagina.
Right.
Um, it's really nice to be able to profit off of that, and also like it's on my terms. Um, and when you're on stage, like people can't like touch you, like you can like kind of whatever costumes you want. It just kind of feels like more freeing to be in charge of the terms of that, other than like just walking down the street. You have like no control over what happens to you in the world.
Right.
Yeah, a big
So
part of social discourse right now is women's empowerment and fair treatment of people regardless of how they fit into culture. With you doing this, is being in like a sideshow clown culture, is that male dominant like most things are females welcome and celebrated too?
Okay, there I feel like it's there's a lot of like equality in the scene. Like I have a lot of women who are their own like soul that are a solo show. Like I'm a solo show myself too. Um there's definitely sexism and like exploitation and coercion, but I feel like it's more so there's camaraderie between like clown girls, like sideshow burlesque acts that are like all females. There's definitely more of like an avenue for that. And also part of being a clown is exploiting people's biases, and it's a lot easier for women to do that through sexuality than men.
right,
Hmm.
right. And speak
So women do really well with burlesque clown acts in general.
and your story kind of reminds me of Marilyn Manson. Like he was an outcast, felt like the black sheep all the time, and he would do crazy shit on stage. Because I read his autobiography, like he would suck another man or suck his guitarist's dick on stage, like just crazy shit that no one else would dare do. Um,
Yeah.
do you actually have like nudity in your shows, or is it more because you said like objectifying your own body instead of other people objectifying you? Do you actually have nudity, or is it more so promiscuous but no nudity?
I feel like I go between just like promiscuous and no nudity to having like I definitely have had nudity in my shows before.
Right.
I actually took my I had at one show I got it was just like full frontal. It wasn't actually full nude, but I pulled a series flag out of my vagina, and then like at the end of it was my tampon. It was like all bloody.
That is amazing.
And I like nobody was expecting it, so everybody was like, wow, that's crazy. But yeah, I feel like it depends on what kind of mood I'm in,
Right.
because I can have plans to do something like that for a show, and then like if I'm not feeling up for it, then I can like do whatever I want. So it's kind of nice. But I
Gotcha.
do a lot of like blood stuff that other people haven't really been doing that I've seen. um I did a show with a circus called Hell's a Poppin' Sideshow, and they are an international circus sideshow act. They've performed like all over the place. They have Lizard Man. Do you know the Lizard Man? He was in like Guinness Book of World Records. He has like
Yes.
fully lizard, and his eyes, he did the thing with the lizard eyes, like tattooed
Yep.
eyes, and then he split tongue, the whole 9 yards.
Shit. Yeah. Shit's crazy.
Yeah, he was on that show.
Oh wow.
And whenever I performed, they were trying to tell me that I couldn't do human pincushion because they were doing it. But they were doing human pincushion, the act, as like putting needles through somebody's like cheek.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in human pincushion, like I was putting hooks through my lips and then playing my instrument so it opened and closed my mouth like a doll, like a ventriloquist doll. And they told me that they've never seen anybody do human pincushion like in that way, like my like ventriloquist doll act. And for them to tell me that like my idea was so original, it was like super, and like that like made me so happy. That
Right.
made me feel so good that I was like doing some shit that like nobody did before. And people get really freaked out because they think it's not real. And then when they realize like I've actually just like been actually self-harming or like actually putting it through my face, they get very like unsettled. And I like seeing that emotional response in people and seeing how people get so either like they'll start off really disgusted and then they'll get hyped up enough to like participate in it and they really like it. So just seeing that emotional change in people, like I once had my friend Joe Miller was like, I'm studying to be a nurse. This is not sanitary. You guys can't be stapling money to her. It's so unsafe and blood sepsis and infections and it's going to be bad. And then he ended up stapling me in my neck. And it was like,
that video and it freaked me out.
It's like mob mentality. Like you get to see people's eyes change, like their pupils dilate and they like start like being like, yeah, I want to do it. And it's just like, I love that. I love that. That's like what I like the most about the stapling act. And now that COVID happened, like people keep saying like, don't do it. But like, I feel like I should do it. Like I was getting stapled up until my last show before COVID, I have the poster on my wall, was February 29th. Like, I feel like I I feel like I could do it. I don't know.
Let's
I
talk about
think that
it's not the weak ass like thin staples from like high school. You're using like a construction stapler like you get from Lowe's or Home Depot, like 10 millimeter.
yeah, this is like for use for upholstery. Because if you don't use that kind, the money won't stick to you and it'll fly everywhere.
So you've
Yeah, you have to use like the real thing. I actually have like scars. Like I have these marks on my chest that are like clearly a staple mark. And I feel like I'm eventually gonna get my chest tattooed if I can. So I don't really like mind having the scars and things. But like at my shows, I would have people like, oh, can you pull this fiver off of my ass? And then it would like start bleeding. And they would be like, oh, it's real. Like a lot of people that watch it from a distance don't think that it's any of it is real. And so whenever I walk through the crowd, like I'll keep the hooks things like inside of my lips. I have a turtle hook that I was using, but I can't like find it right now, but it's like for turtle fishing, it's like this big. And the hook's like really massive. And so that it's like it can't be fake. Even
Right.
if you, because the little tiny fishing hooks, like people will be like, oh, that's fake, because from far away they're so like thin, you can like barely see them, you know. But unless it like bleeds a lot on stage, they won't know it's real. Like I did a show at Love Dungeon 2 at Spirit Hall, and I hit in the face with a bunch of concrete block or cinder block, and then like people knew it was real because I was like bleeding a lot. But yeah, people just will assume that like, oh, it's a fake brick, because they
Right.
sell that type of shit. I mean, like
Right.
you can buy a glass bottle made out of sugar.
Mm-hmm.
And then so whenever you like are eating glass, people think it's that. So I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to get that on virtual, but like would you just assume if you saw something like that on the internet that it's fake?
Exactly.
You know?
So walk us through the development of Icky Vicky, because like you said before we start recording, your show is I guess you haven't been through like clown school, so it's a mostly self-taught DIY act and persona that you've created. Walk us through the beginning phases and how it's evolved to where it is now.
So I like I said, I like okay, so I went through like a bunch of traumatic shit and people were so tired of listening to me talk about it. So I had to like sort of throw all my bad feelings into like one thing. And I don't even remember how I like came up with Icky Vicky, but I remembered like that she was from Fairly Odd Parents.
Yes.
And she was like the babysitter. And then they had Chip Skylark saying, "Oh, Vicky, you're so icky." And it's
Hell
like,
yes.
why do you get so much joy out of making kids cry? And I just like I don't know, I like really liked the name. At the time I had been going by like a bunch of different V names. Like if people would ask me what my name is, I would be like, "Oh, it's Veronica." "Oh, it's like my name's Vicky." And so I was going through this thing at the time where like I was telling people that I didn't know, like obviously like if a dude like comes up to you at a bar and is like, "Hey girl, what's your name?" I would be like, "Veronica." And they would be like,
Right.
"Cool." Like that's it was just like kind of on that level. But I was like, "Oh, I love the name Vicky." And I felt like if any of the V names I was using, like people didn't really buy it when I would say I was Vivian, but when I said I was Vicky, people would be like, "You like look like a Vicky."
You
And
did.
I would be like, "Yeah, that's my name for sure." Um and so I really liked that. And also like Godparents is somewhat like burned into the subconscious of everybody between the ages of like 35 and I don't know, like
25.
29 or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
They still show it on Nickelodeon, actually.
It's an amazing show.
It is an amazing show.
And
I
I'm
love
glad.
it so much.
And I mean, that's the first thing that I started the way I started following you is what's his name? Austin Possum, I guess. I started
Yeah,
following.
Austin Possum.
So I started following you because I saw you stapling $1 bills to him, and I was like, "Who is this chick? Like, this is gangster as fuck." And then I went to your page and was like, "I like her." So that was probably over a year ago since I've been following you, and then we started this podcast. And I was like, "Hey, you want to come on it?" But yeah. So the first
Yeah,
thing
I
that
went to Knoxville. I played with Austin, and they are such an incredible musician.
burned the toast.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, they're dope as hell. I was trying to be in their music video, but then I don't know, I just had a lot going on and I never recorded it because, like I said, I've been having a hard time like transferring virtual. But yeah, Austin's dope. We went to a quarry in Knoxville and then like we played that night. And I'm so used to getting stapled that I'll just like be ripping them out of me like all like willy-nilly. And I ripped one out of Austin's chest and it like squirted blood. Like it like sprayed blood out. I was genuinely so scared. Like yeah, they bled so much. And I was like, "Oh, I don't know, maybe I just like don't bleed as much as you or something." But I felt so bad. I was like, I definitely was like on some other shit whenever I was in Knoxville because it was like right at the end of my tour. And if I'm Icky Vicky every single night, like I just be acting crazy.
So let's kind of let's kind of get back to the question, like, how did it start and how did it get to here? Because like Bobby said and like you said before we started recording, that you're not a professional clown, you weren't trained. Like, where did you start at? Like, okay, let me staple this to me to, oh, let me learn how to fire breathe and shit like that.
So I learned how to eat fire probably like 8 years ago. And it was just sort of like like a hobby on the side sort of thing that I didn't like. I wasn't performing or like doing anything with it. But yeah, I started to like get money. Like I would get a lot of tips, and my very first show I did on my own was a pie eating contest because like I love baking pies. I
Nice.
just love it. And I started to get requests for like for sex work, for somebody to say like, "Oh, I want you to do a pie sitting video." And then I had this idea like I should throw a pie eating contest. Like, what? Why not? That would be so fun. Like, I want to bake the pies. I want to referee the thing. Like, I want to see people eating pies like really fast. Like, I just like, yeah, I was like, that seems like the perfect event. But then I was like, I feel so guilty doing something like that when there's like literally people starving, right?
Mm,
So then I was, well, if I do it to benefit the Pittsburgh Food Bank or the Greater
mm,
Pittsburgh Food Bank, then I could like not feel like a piece of shit for doing it. So then I started doing more events that were benefit shows because if I had more money, like I would give money to people who needed it, but like I don't have money. So if I throw my events and I can do something that like I've really always wanted to do, but then I also can give back in a way that's like doesn't feel like, yeah, what we're doing is like gluttonous. It's so wasteful. Like it's not, it doesn't take that away, but it's like
right.
we're gonna do something good with the money that we make so that we can like sleep at night. Like
I
not
fucks
that
with it.
I mean like I don't know if it would make me like not be able to sleep at night if I didn't like constantly do benefit shows, but like I feel like a selfish piece of shit for like a lot of things that I do that are like overly consumptive, you know? And like I deal with a lot of feeling of like I wish I could help people, but I just can't. So I just kept throwing more shows. Like I got a good response from people, so I just like kept doing it. And then of course I wanted to do the tours because I need to get the hell out of my town whenever I can do that. So yeah, so then I would do tours. I went on tour with this band called Holy Locust that I like love. They're probably my favorite band ever. So I was like, okay, that's cool. Like I performed with Rico Nasty, dude.
I saw
Like
that.
I
I didn't know if that was like bullshit or if you really.
no,
That is
straight up like
amazing.
right after she got signs,
That
she
is
played
fucking
at
amazing.
Community Forge in Pittsburgh. We had like a freak show and I was running the dunk booth and I performed and like I got money stapled to my forehead night and then the staple like folded in on itself when it hit my skull,
Oh
right?
shit.
So then I had to like cut it in half and then like pry it out because it was like stuck in my head. It wasn't even that much money. Like, it was just I was just in a mode like I was like fully in it. I put my full pussy into it because it was like Rico Nasty, dude. Like I love their music and so I have to like
Fuck
remind
yeah.
myself of my really low days. I have to be like, you performed with Rico Nasty,
Did
like
did
you're not worthless.
did you just say you put your full pussy into it?
Yeah, I put my full pussy into
I'm a,
that whole
I'm a,
performance.
I'm gonna start using that. I put my full pussy into that.
Yes.
I'm
The whole stapling thing is crazy to me. Um, One thing that
Yeah,
I
it's
really
it's like
enjoy
the
about,
perfect amount of pain.
yeah, I don't like pain. I'm weak. So like pain, and especially self pain, for art is very intriguing because I would never do it. Um, but I like the
Yeah, it
irony that you
almost like
infuse into your show.
wait,
I
what?
was thinking like the irony that you put into your show, because like you use pie eating contests, which is overconsumption, gluttony, but you use it to benefit a food bank. I feel like you're
Yeah,
stapling money to your body is a commentary on capitalism, where hey, we're getting pennies for our performance,
it
living this,
totally is.
but it's
It
full of fucking
totally
hate.
is.
Nobody likes going to work Monday through Friday.
Yeah, and also like if you think that a sex worker sells their body but a coal miner doesn't, or like
Mm.
if you think like anyone like who's doing like fracking or who's doing something where like you're involved with chemicals and all this stuff, like you're also selling your body. Like honestly, no matter what you do, like why can't we let cashiers sit down?
Mm.
Why can't cashiers sit down? Like I don't know, because capitalism is like unnecessarily filled with suffering. Like
Mm-hmm.
it definitely is. I was trying to like get off the staples for a little while because I do get like my body, like I have to heal from it, you know. With COVID, I haven't done it really since COVID.
So I see that you're in the fight, you know, against the discrimination of sex workers. You've mentioned sex workers a couple of times during this episode. Do you consider yourself a sex worker, like besides the clown shit? Like, do you have an OnlyFans or anything, or do you just have a strong desire to
Yeah.
fight?
So I don't have an OnlyFans because they own everything that you upload.
Yeah, fuck that.
So for a long time I had a Patreon. I'm gonna be making an AVN stars, but I have done like different types of sex work throughout
Gotcha.
like the last 10 years. And it's always like sex workers are always at the forefront of a lot of like social movements.
Right.
Like so sex workers have been talking about like censorship and how fragile our encrypted messaging services are for like years.
Yeah.
And now there's all this legislation coming down that is censoring all of our favorite platforms.
And what
And
was it called? Set. What was it? Man.
Festa and Fasta.
Thank you.
Just
Yeah, we my friend, she's a sex worker, and we actually had her on an episode of Off the Beaten Path, and you know she talks strongly against that bullshit that they're trying to do and possibly might be able to do. So we're a little familiar with it.
Yeah, there's a new law called SISEA, SISEA, and it's basically an extension of FOSTA and SESTA, but it has all this weird shit. Like it basically made like child porn law, but then it censors sex workers and it censors like everyday people, but it makes like the penalties, I guess, for child porn like less,
That's
which is like
disgusting.
that doesn't make sense.
That's
Like whole,
disgusting.
yeah,
I don't
and
think that it's going to pass, but it's like they're constantly drafting legislation to censor people because if they take away encrypted services, there's no like revolution.
Right.
If there's no way to private message, there's no way to organize.
mm-hmm.
That's super dangerous. And so sex workers are the first people who get affected by it, but then slowly it will be like everybody. And then you will like, even if like your girlfriend sent you nudes and shit, like they could take down your Facebook account or they could like take down your Instagram. Like I'm actually banned on Facebook. Sadly enough, it's been like 2 years. I have no access to like my Broken Hearts Sideshow Facebook page is still up, but I have no access to it whatsoever.
Yeah, that's one thing we
And
talked about
it's
last
really
time was. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I
oh
just
no
like
no no.
about last time was with this legislation, it punishes one consensual sex workers. It punishes two non-consensual victims of sexual abuse, and it frees the perpetrators who are doing the non-consensual sexual abuse, traffickers, abusers of children and women, of men. So the abusers get off
Yeah.
scot-free. The people that do it consensually are being punished, and the victims are being punished. That's
And
what a lot
then
of people.
think about who benefits from that. Like, who's drafting it? And, like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably the
And I
government.
really hope it doesn't pass, but I've been trying to also use my platform at all, if at all, in any way that I could, to just try to get people to call their Congress people about it, or, you know, like whatever kind of like you sign a petition or something like that to try to just so people have awareness of it. Because I know how so many people are aware of what the Patriot Act did,
Right.
but only like after the fact, and we can't do anything about it. So just trying to prevent these pieces of legislation from being passed is super important for everybody. Like, no matter what your cause is, or no matter what where your interests lie, everybody wants to have privacy. Everybody wants to be able to, you know, not have their sexuality like digested or by the state. You know what I mean? Like, it's not their business. So
Right.
it's like, for them to try to censor that is insane. Like, not only for like the victims and everything that aren't already, the system is stacked against victims of sexual assault. Like, the system is not made to bring justice to those people. It's made to like interrogate those people and re-traumatize those people. And so for it to for them to try to do more, it's like, wow, like you already have so many systems in place to persecute this group. Like, why do you need more? It's just kind of like sinister.
Yeah. It's like we said, it's absolutely disgusting. And as you said, you're like, who's doing it and what are you benefiting off of it? It's the fucking government, and they're benefiting off their own causes because you have people like Jeffrey Epstein that is running this major fucking child sex ring, but they're targeting people, they're targeting victims and consensual sex workers.
Okay, do you think Jeffrey Epstein's dead?
Oh fuck. What a
Ooh,
question. I don't
if he
know. I don't.
if he's dead, he didn't kill himself.
Yes. Yes. There you go.
Yeah, that's what I think too. If he's dead, he got killed off by people who would have gotten
Fucked over.
exposed by him.
Yeah.
And this is the dude who has so much money. Like, I bet you he's not. But did you know that SpongeBob's address is his address?
What?
When there's an episode of SpongeBob where SpongeBob gets a driver's license finally,
I
right?
remember that. Yeah.
Okay, when he gets a driver's license, if you look up that address that's on his driver's license, it's Jeffrey Epstein's island.
That's fucked up. That is really fucked up.
That is so fucked up.
Yes.
It's
That's
very
disgusting.
interesting that you talk about that because I feel like there are certain voices in celebrity, a lot of voices in Hollywood that want to use their platform to. I don't want to use the word "wake up" because I hate trendy words like that, but kind of expose or make aware some of the terrible shit that's going on, and they use it in a very cloaked way, almost like a code to say, "Hey, look, if you pay attention to this, we're telling you that something's over here, but we can't tell you exactly what it is because we don't want the fear of danger for fully exposing it. But look into this." So I didn't know about that, but weird shit like that happens all the time in cinema and TV, and I feel like it's on purpose.
Yeah, same.
Definitely
It's
on purpose.
it's really weird. Like, also, if you okay, so like if you ever use PornHub, They just did a huge like wiping of unverified content to their page. But they also do these things like if you go to another country, if you set your country, not the United States,
Right.
you won't get incest porn on like your suggested.
Mm.
But if you're on the United States, like why do they have the algorithm that there's so much incest porn for the United States?
Yeah, and
That's so weird. Like it's so fucking weird. And like people will say like, "Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist," or like da da. But it's like, just go and change your setting to another country
right,
and see how different your homepage looks. Like
right.
it's not crazy to say. For some reason, we have pedophilia and incest like pumped into our fucking society. Like there's a problem with that shit. But I feel like if you address it, people are like, "Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist," but it's like that shit is real. Like I don't know. It just there's certain things like that's how they get you with like QAnon and because it's like the government is doing bad shit and they always have been,
Always.
right?
Yep.
So then like the QAnon people get brainwashed into thinking some shit because it's like baseline. They know that the government's been doing bad shit. And so they can just get you and like hook, line, and sink with the conspiracy like that. Like I'm into some conspiracy shit, but I'm into like there was a bunch of people who didn't want the Federal Reserve on the Titanic, and then the Titanic sank, and now there's Federal Reserve, and we're all like forever indebted forever, and like our grandkids and our great grandkids are. But I'm not a Q person. Fuck that. But I can see how they'll be like, somebody's gonna come and hurt your kids, like there's pedophiles, and then you'll be like, yeah, there is, and then you just like get totally fucking brainwashed. Like, I feel really bad for those people, but at a certain point, you have to be able to like get a hold of your fucking self and be like, yeah, how is Trump not a pedophile?
Mm.
Like he literally like raped a 13-year girl and they believe he's yeah, he talks about fucking his daughter all the time. And there's like he was friends with Epstein, but somehow he's like saving the world. Like that's just fucking crazy because Trump is a pedophile.
America's a
Like
shit show right now.
it's totally a shit show. And like I saw this quote that said, "Give them bread and circuses. Wait, where's the bread?"
Yeah, 100%. Are you drinking the
Right?
PBR? Are you drinking the PBR?
I'm drinking a combination of PBR coffee and twisted tea, the unofficial drink of the revolution. Um,
I think we should.
we got ocean. Okay, I saw another thing that said we have ocean spray to accept the things we cannot change, and twisted tea to change the things we cannot accept.
Hey, well, this is the first time that all three have been drinking the beer, so can we cheers real quick?
Yours.
Hell yeah!
Cheers.
You.
So what you just
Cheers.
said was a play on the Serenity Prayer. One thing I noticed about your page, you didn't talk about much. I only saw one post, but that's that you do some tarot reading. So how does your inner world and spiritual world play into Icky Vicky?
So I like tarot cards. I like subscribe to a few tarot people where like they have a Patreon for like $5 a month, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll like subscribe to your thing. But basically like reading tea leaves or tarot or anything to where it's like you put your energy into something and it kind of gives you some sort of like sign of like where to go. um I like that sort of thing to where like you can be given some sort of reflection or meditation of like everybody can work on themselves, so it's just like sort of gives you those kind of clues of like even like out of your own subconscious, like if you start shuffling a deck of tarot cards and then you have like a question you want answered, it's sort of like even just revealing to yourself like underlying like what's going on like subconsciously with me that I can like have a healthier and better experience. um so I have this like sideshow deck.
Oh, cool.
that somebody gave to me, and all the cards have a relation to circus.
Nice.
And I use them all the time. I really love them. The deck is by a famous clown called John Lee, and he was in Barnum and Bailey.
Okay.
He was in a few circus troupes, but as like a retired clown, he made this deck, and it's so gorgeous. Like, it has a little book to go with it, and then it has the cards.
Hell yeah.
Are really nice, but symbolism on every, like, the art on every card and the symbolism on every card is really point. He just spent a lot of time on it. And so for a little reading, like small reading, I got the 5 of Wands. So just for like us, I can give us like a little group reading. And in the imagery, in like the image of the card, everybody sort of is like picking up the load from the wagon, and these are supposed to be the stakes of the canvas tent. And it says, we pause in our labor to brandish the tent's poles as if they were weapons. Do we mock combat when we initiate a real struggle? So often is our vigorous play that we transform ourselves in battle. When competitors are as fierce and unruly as this, you may easily go back and forth across the border of law and lawlessness. It's just the imitation of life and the practice of it. Dangerous games can lead to unintended consequences. Be careful how you play.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like that.
Yeah.
And it all has to do with side.
I have 2 questions about tarot for you. As the one that's trying to be forward thinking, being born a male here in this country, especially in the South, where it's patriarchal dominant, and looking at the backbone of what shapes our realities, a large part of it in this country and probably the West in general is Abrahamic religions of either Christianity or Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us, as we grow tired of that, we move east and look at like Buddhism and Hinduism and Taoism, stuff like that. Stuff that's accessible, that we can kind of understand, but not fully. But they all have their patriarchal roots. When looking at stuff like numerology and astrology, like I read mine, and it feels like my numbers or my signs are me. When I look at it for my wife, it feels very, very distant. So when you look at like tarot, astrology, numerology, do you feel like they're the traits that are described are male dominant, or do you find yourself in them as fully as I possibly could?
Yeah, I don't know. I find astrology is sort of like a mixture of those energies. And it's very highly personalized. So also like there can be that kind of flow of masculine and feminine energy together, because I'm also like a very masculine person. But I was definitely raised Catholic and sought out different religions and different information about spirituality. I feel like a lot of people who are raised with Catholicism do that because it's so ass backwards that you're like, okay, well, what else is there? And I sort of more so, I don't know if I would if I would be atheist or like just agnostic to being like, I don't think there's anything after. But I've done DMT, so I feel like there's like something, like there's a place where your energy and your body goes to, but I don't know that like you live after your life. And like I don't align myself or say like, oh, I'm like Buddhist or I'm like Hindu, like converted. More so than I just like kind of think that the world is a mixture of both. Like it's kind of random and kind of predestined. Like maybe there's certain things that like you won't be able to escape in your lifetime, but a lot of it's random. Like most of it's random. I don't know. I don't know that there's like one like masculine or feminine type of feeling that I get from Eastern philosophy, more so than like the patriarchal male dominated aspect is like seems like a very American thing.
It is.
And like in South America, especially where like there's like conquistadors and stuff, they still have that like very male dominated Catholicism is all over the South Americas. So I'm like, I'm not sure if it's that because I feel like I'm also a very masculine person. So I have that like mixture. I don't identify as like they because I definitely identify with my body. I'm like cisgendered and everything, but like I can tell like I have a brute energy to me sometimes.
Do you get along better?
Sorry, Nate, didn't mean to cut you off. I just want to go into this for a second. So one thing I always do with the Zoom names, I don't know if you noticed the title of the name when you came in, but I titled it the Vigorous Icky Vicky.
Mm-hmm.
And the first, and what I always do is I love alliteration, so I like the double V. The first
Me too.
word in my mind was vivacious, but I was like, that doesn't feel right. So I went and looked up definition, and vivacious is primarily associated to women. But then I was like, it just doesn't have the feel for the room that I want. So then I looked up synonyms of vivacious, and vigorous popped up. And vigorous is most likely associated to men. A vigorous man, a big, brawny guy that can handle his shit. And I was like, I feel like for Vicky that would be perfect. So you exposing that you feel a lot of masculine energy inside of your feminine manifestation. That's interesting.
Yeah, I love that. I did see that whenever we first entered. I definitely feel like that's why men have a hard time with me sometimes because I don't stay in like my feminine box and I'm like a very out of pocket type of person. So mostly I get along super well with women, but the people who end up like hating me and like being like against me are always men. And I've seriously had that my entire life. Like all my bullies were men when I was like growing up. Like women wouldn't really like bother with me too much, but men would like want to like hurt me because it's like I had this sort of like I'm like sort of just have that like brute energy and I'm not gonna like back down to somebody just because they're a man or they have more power than me or they have something more like if I feel like intellectually like I'm on my shit and I know what I'm talking about, not gonna just back down from it or like back down from a fight. And I also will call out like the fragility of men. They don't really like that.
No, that ego gets in the way.
Yeah, and also like my ego is also a huge problem.
It is with a lot of people. It's not only men that have ego. Everyone has ego. It just depends on how you control it. Before we wrap up, this is Bobby talked about actually asking this. We didn't talk much about this episode before, but he talked about how he wanted to ask if there's anything that you could possibly do, if there's a prop that you have, if there's anything that you want to do or could do that's in your room right now. Bring us into the Icky Vicky Sideshow.
Sure, yeah. I have a tiny accordion. So this is one of my favorite props because it's so tiny and because my one thing that like okay, so you know how people like try to make you feel bad and they'll be like, you're not good at music. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to take this super remedial instrument and just play. The same loop over and over again. And then play it over and over and over again. But for somebody who's dressed as a clown, balancing like 4 feet up in the air, who also has like a bunch of other props around them,
Right.
it's like kind of impressive. Once like on stilts or some shit, like it's great. It's so entertaining. It's so funny, and like I'll make up lyrics to like everything's fine, yeah, everything's great, yeah, who's having a mental breakdown? Definitely not Vicky. And like be able to like make it. But I also have this one, and I kind of want to just like see if I can do it because it's been a while.
Let's see.
But I have like, this. My squirting flower.
Oh, yes.
But I don't use it like a normal person because sideshow clowns don't do anything normal. We do everything weird, and that's why everybody makes fun of us. Oh. And I love putting stuff up my nose.
Oh.
So I'm going to put it up my nose because that's not usually where you put it, right?
Oh,
we're just a little strange here. We do things in a way that normal people just don't understand.
Oh, you're pulling it through your mouth.
Yes, I love this.
And it's like gonna clean out my dirty brain. It's called mental floss. It's gonna clean out my fucked up mind, and then I'll be able to be normal again. And I love talking about like this concept of like normal, like what's normal? What's a normal way to use a squirting flower? I mean, get serious, guys. But then I like to do this thing where I'll like be like, cheers, everybody.
Oh, wow.
And then like squirt through the flower, but then I'll like walk through a crowd like that because like people just don't think it's real if they didn't see me put it in and like gag over it. But yeah, then like just like drinking through it, like taking a drink out of my drink and then putting it in my mouth and squirting it in somebody else's mouth, and this shit has been through my nose hole. Like nobody wants to do that anymore because of COVID. Which is, that sucks. Like I want queer people to be licking blood off of my face, but I can't have that anymore because of COVID.
I'll drink from your nose hole.
Yeah, I don't know if
I don't know if it'll go away too, because it's like it's good that people have a raised awareness about like personal hygiene and health. Like it's a good thing. But I'm like, will I ever get what I want again? Probably not. It's fine. Like, I had it once. It is better to have loved and lost than to have never have loved at all.
Yes, I was about to quote that. My quote. Oh my god.
I'm not sure where.
That's wild.
I
I'm
was
gonna put,
trying not to talk because the way Zoom works is it only shows the person who is talking. So I was trying not to talk, but guys, you saw it here on Off the Beaten Path podcast. This shit is real.
there's a flower in
It
Vicky's
is real.
mouth, and she spit through it, and there's nobody there to catch it. So
There was no one here to catch it, so I tried to make it into the empty can, but like I sort of did in my room,
Mm.
but I can just like wipe that up later. Usually I would
yeah,
be like
I was
balancing.
I'm gonna cut you off for a second, Vicky. I was so engulfed in that you have a flower through your nose and mouth, and you spit through it. I didn't even think, oh, she has to clean up a mess. I'm just like, oh.
I tried. You could hear it. Maybe like if you like listen back to it, you'll hear it like definitely hit the can, but it's like, yeah. I was trying to make it in. But that can be like one of my games. Like, so whenever I have a show again, I'm gonna have games where like in between me like singing a little song or doing a little comedy monologue, I'll have games people can play. So one of them I'm gonna do is this where like it's basically like whoever fills up their cup the most from my nose juices like wins a prize. And people get really excited because I give out really good prizes. Okay. So another game that I have going on is it's a frying pan bed of nails that I use as like a flogger so people can like beat me with it. But then it's also I'll sit on it and you can use it in like a plinko type of scenario where like people can drop a little ball into it and then it can either go in like the winner or loser container and you can like win a prize from it. So all that stuff is handmade and it's really fun. And I feel like when in-person shows resume, like I will have some shit for people to do.
Hey, I can't wait for
But
people
there's
to.
really no way to do that virtually.
Right.
Yeah, no doubt. And my final inquiry is a double question. So as an audience member in this very short podcast, what you do brings me to a place where I feel like that childlike joy. And one thing I'm obsessed with right now is, as children, all we want to do is become adults. And I feel like once we become adults, all we want to do is be able to tap into that childlikeness as much as possible to feel joy and happiness. So I've become obsessed with the idea of how often can I become a child so I can let go of the woes of life. So I guess I have a three-part question. Two, what do you want, or one, what do you want your response from the audience to be? Two, do you feel like when you do your acts, if you touch that place that we would call childlikeness? And three, what would you define happiness as?
So my audience reaction, obviously I want people to be really happy. I want them to tip me. I want them to think more about how they can like respect themselves, like by watching me disrespect myself. Um Also, okay, so then the second question was if I do touch the childlike joy place, then like what was your second question?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
guess.
even remember it.
Yeah, so you kind of give childlikeness to us as an audience. What do you experience when you're going through the acts?
Whenever I'm going through the acts, like I feel like a lot of like return to a place where I don't feel like burdened by life. I don't feel like I am wrong for being uh like I'm wrong for having had trauma in my life. Like, I feel like there's people that can accept me and that I can accept myself as well. For sure.
And what was the third
Then
question?
And thirdly, how
question.
do you
Oh,
define
how do you
happiness?
define happiness? How do you
How do I
define
define
happiness?
happiness? I define happiness as oh wow, how do I define happiness? I feel like happiness is like self-acceptance and not ignoring that there's suffering in the world, but like finding the joyful moments that balance it out. Like I define happiness as like I've been able to hold on to the fleeting joyful moments because they are there, even though like the world is like crazy right now and it's definitely like a circus. And I feel like the human brain is like a complicated place to live, but I feel like holding on to those joyful moments and like being grateful for them, even if like they're over, like even if like that person you were with when you felt that way is gone, or like the place is gone, or like shit's wrong now, like it happened, you can kind of like just have it in your memory for sure.
Do you
And like just holding on to the fleeting moments of happiness because they are there, but you just have to like trudge through a lot of shit
do
to get
you
to
read
them.
do you read books or listen to audiobooks?
I do, yeah. I have been reading a book by Melanie Beattie right now, who she talks a lot about codependency. Hold on, I'm gonna take this out.
I don't know
So
if y'all got to see that, but she definitely just took it out.
I think they will be able to see since I was talking. Uh yeah, Melanie Beattie talks a lot about codependency, and so I've been reading one of her books, and I listen to a lot of podcasts, and um yeah, podcasts and like audiobooks are probably like the way to go for me.
Okay, well look,
Just because I can have it in my headphones and be like doing other stuff.
I found this YouTube channel that basically gives out free audiobooks, and if you haven't read or listened to it, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, I'm gonna send that to you
Oh my
because
gosh, yeah.
huh?
Oh, I said yes, like please do.
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to you right after we get off here because you've touched on a lot of things that the author actually touched on. And the last thing for me, no one's been able to see it, but I have on the shirt, and it's a beautiful shirt. I cherish this shirt. And where can people get your merch from?
Okay, so my merchandise is on my Big Cartel. So if you go to Big Cartel, Icky Vicky Sideshow, or Broken Heart Sideshow, the link is in my Instagram bio. Also, if you search Broken Heart Sideshow online, I think it's one of the first inquiries that comes up. And I have my shirts. I have my stickers. I just had a new sticker release too. And I'm doing a raffle currently with Underbite Crafts for the sex workers of Pittsburgh, just like a benefit towards them to help them to continue to do the good work that they're doing in supporting at-risk people and sex workers in Pittsburgh. And that raffle is going to be starting, I think, like in like 2 days, and the winner is going to be drawn on February 2nd, I think. So there's going to be a limited edition Broken Heart Sideshow t-shirt that's on there that's like not in print yet. You can't order it yet. It's like the exclusive. And I have all my other merch on my Big Cartel.
Perfect.
Yeah. I love
It,
that shirt because you can't read that it says Broken Heart Sideshow from a distance, but like whenever you zoom up on it and you can see like the details of it, it's actually pretty dope.
exactly. I fucks with it. I love your merch. Your merch is awesome. Your stickers are awesome. Your shirt ideas are awesome. Whoever is a photographer or whatever photographers you go to, they do a great job. And it's
Yes.
been beautiful.
Okay, so Aiden Sin Flame is the person who took the photos for the Shibari shirt, and they do all the tying. Like Aiden's merch is amazing too. So check
Nice.
out. Flame also.
Shout out to Aiden Flame. All right. Well, fuck. This has been a great episode. It's been
Yeah,
great
the only
speaking
other
with you.
question I have is when looking at all your performance art on Instagram, the one desire I had was once things open up a little bit more from COVID, how do I find this in my region? Even if I have to travel a couple hours to find it. Are there
So I
good websites? Like, how do we find what you do?
So I have my YouTube page that I'm going to be adding more to, and the link also is in my link tree. But I am going to be probably traveling this late this summer because people are getting vaccinated. And I have some shows maybe in the works in Virginia. So possibly by like August 2021, you'll be able to see me in Asheville, Knoxville, Maryland, and Virginia on like a short tour.
Awesome. Well, Asheville's like 4.5 hours from me, so if that happens and it works for me, I'm definitely going to be
Yes,
ready to work.
I hope we get to meet in real life.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be fucking amazing. Once again, it's been great speaking with you. This has been another episode of Off the Beaten Path podcast.
Stay black, motherfuckers.
Don't be whack.
Bye.